So I bought an automatic watering system for €20 off AliExpress. I started testing it out. I used it a couple of times and it broke because it's made of the finest Chinesium. But one of the things that I did notice that kind of surprised me was that it was able to work even before it had been primed. It was able to suck water into it and pump it around without having to be primed with water first. Most traditional pump designs use a motor and an impeller or a propeller which acts on the water to move it, such as in a centrifugal pump, where as it turns, the motor turns the impeller, it throws the water outwards, and that pulls more water into the pump. But for this pump to work, it needs water in the system. If it is airlocked, it will not work and may end up with the motor burning out. When I opened this up, I expected to see a impeller similar to this one, which I had from another project. These are standard off-the-shelf components. But when I opened it up, I got a surprise. So there is, right at the top, it's fairly standard. You have a PCB with a 7-segment display, some timing chips, and some charging circuitry. Underneath that, you have an 18650 lithium battery. But where I expected to find the impeller pump, instead you have a motor with a bent drive shaft. I hooked up the motor to power and showed that in fact it is indeed misaligned. But then I realized that this was intentional. This eccentric drive shaft then feeds into a small plastic widget. The plastic widget consists of two parts. The top part has a small piece of plastic that was connected to 5 separate rubber suction cups. This by itself shouldn't be able to pump the water up. Just like a plunger in a toilet or in a sink, it's going to move the water up and down, but it's not going to pull it in. Underneath that, there was a small piece with green plastic one-way valves on it. But the unit was sealed. I couldn't see what was inside. Again, the one-way valves would allow the water to come in, but how is it using that to direct the water into the out part? So I got a belt sander and sanded it open to see what was going on, and then it clicked with me. There's this star-shaped part in the middle of which the plunger sits over, and inside that, sealed inside the unit, is another one-way valve in the opposite direction. So, as the plunger goes on the upstroke, it will pull the water in, or pull the air in, or pull whatever it has in the tube inwards, and then when it pushes down, that one-way valve will seal, and it will go out the other one-way valve, which is configured to be in the opposite direction. So this design shows some ingenious Chinese innovation. By simply using standard components, such as a motor with an eccentric shaft, and combining it with some very clever extruded designs, but this very clever suction cup one-way valve system to drive the water into it. And again, a very simple, clean solution to a very difficult problem.